بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Zakat, which is basically money, we're talking about money. Why we need to collect zakat or charity? The poor, yeah, that's one. Who else? But why we need zakat directly? Why we need money? Not only zakat, because we will talk about other than zakat. You have Zakatul Fitr, you have zakat, and you have udhiyah, Qurbani, and you have aqiqah, you have Zakatul Fitr, you have nadhr, you have other things, to take money for. For what we need money? For the poor, what else? It's not, in Islam, it's not a charity. You don't give zakah out of kindness. Yeah? You give zakah like the tax, by force. You must give zakah. If you don't give zakah, the leader of the country will force you to give zakah. What else? Orphans, yeah? You have orphans who father and mother died, or the father died, the mother cannot work and look after the children, so she has either to look after children or work. Or if she works, who will look after the children? So we'll need money, child's care sometimes. Yes? For orphans, who else? Where would you spend the zakat? Foster.
Injured people,
Yeah, injured people or sick people who cannot work. Yeah? Because they could be sick for long term, could be sick short term. Not all sickness they cannot work, but some sickness they can't. He just broke his legs. What shall I do? He will sit at home till he's recovered. Salman.
People with disabilities.
Yes, very good. Disabilities, people who have mental disability or physical disability. There's always a percentage of born children with disabilities. And like it or not. Or they could be hit by a disease, make them disabled. Brain disease or bone disease or muscle disease, like muscular dystrophy. So you have diseases will make people disabled either mentally or physically. Disabled mentally or physically, or become disabled because of car crash or because of war, because of earthquake, because of flood, because of fire, become disabled. Travelers. In Islam, you give those who are basically homeless, travelers who have either they have no home or no money to stay in a hotel, or basically they are homeless. They're unable to pay rent. Sometimes if you don't have a stable job with regular income, nobody might rent you a house. Why is that, Sanya? Why they might not rent you a house?
credit score.
Yes. How do you know that? Were you rejected? Your credit score was low? Yes. If you have a job, but you haven't been working for a long time, and you don't have a stable job, you keep moving from job to job to job, or you have a business still at the start of the business, they don't know whether you will get regular income or not, and they might not get the rent, so they will not rent you. So you might be working, but your income is not regular. How do you lose your credit score? Yeah, you don't pay rent on time, you don't pay your parking ticket, and you're probably taken to the civil court and you found that you defaulted in your payment. The problem if you default on your payment, you don't pay your rent or whatever, you lose your credit score. But the problem if a government loses the credit score. Credit score usually 3 A's is the highest, and some governments even D. Nobody will lend them money. So you might be in need because you're a traveler, or might be in need because you're homeless. You made homeless because you cannot rent a house. You couldn't rent a house because you don't have a stable job. So it could be multiple reasons. But that's one of the distribution of zakat. Zakat itself, 8 type of people. One of them is the stranded traveler or the homeless. You give them part of the zakat. That's very good. You must have a good guess yourself and Dawood. I didn't expect Dawood to say this credit score. If you don't have credit card in this country, it's a problem. Why is that? If you don't have credit card, I don't like credit card. You shouldn't actually use credit card unless you pay straight away what you bought for. So you go to eBay or Amazon, you buy using your credit card. Why you better buy using your credit card on Amazon and eBay and things? And why is better?
It's more safe.
How it's safe? It is, yeah, more safe. Why? No, because you have a third party, which is the credit company. If the seller was messing you about, so you go there and say the item didn't arrive. Like my son bought an iPhone, and in the box there were a stone. No iPhone. No, they sent them a stone, and it was £1,000. Wasn't like cheap. So he went to the credit company, said, "Look, I received a stone." Send them picture and things, and they gave him the money. So obviously they didn't give the money to that guy. eBay and Amazon have a system. They will not pay the seller the money until a month passed. Why? Because if he cheated the buyer, the money still they have the money, so they will give you the money. And else, what else you need money for? Because when we think of zakat, I think only the poor and the needy, but there's a lot of other people need. Like what? You didn't answer anything. Who could need money? We said disabled, and poor and needy, stranded people. What about children? Do they need money? Yeah, from birth you need help. And if your mom cannot offer the help because she's ill or sick or working, too many children, governments usually give child benefit, but that's help a bit. But you need more money for children. So you need to have money to give families with large family, or families where the father doesn't work or is ill, disabled or something. So you need for children. Who else you need? Yeah, refugees. Refugees, there's some economy refugees who are just trying to find better jobs and more money. And these have to be sorted, excluded. Those who were persecuted and they were politically persecuted and things, yes, they might need help, providing they make effort to work themselves. Because some rely on the handout from the governments and they can work in the black market and things. Women giving birth. Women giving birth, sometimes the birth could be pregnant, might not be able to work. They give you maternity leave, I think, for 3 months full pay, another 3 months half pay, and then no pay. So if you want to sit and breastfeed your baby and look after your baby, and you already have 2-year-old toddlers and you have 5 years old need to go to school and things, you might not be able to work. So you might need some help, and maternity might not be enough and things. So you need to give what? So you have people who might need money because they become too old. When you get too old, you start losing. What would you lose when you are old? Some will lose their memory, become demented. Yeah, by automatically, Allah created us to get weaker. When you are 60 plus, you start losing your muscles. Your muscle fat reduced. Every year you lose between 1 to 3% of your muscle mass. Sometimes more than that. So you become weaker and weaker and weaker, and then you come to work. So you need help. So you need elderly care. Even if there's no disease. There's no disease, but the muscles become weak. And you see most people start becoming thin or have breaking bones very easily. They get osteoporosis and things. Now,
They get arthritis.
yes, that's another one, that wear and tear. Can't walk, a lot of pain and things. Because of the muscle weakness and arthritis and, yeah. You were going to say something, Sarah, eh?
I was going to say.
Yeah, dementia. If you're not demented, then you don't lose your muscles, you lose something else when you are old. Anybody can guess?
Your life.
Yes, you could die. But if he died, he doesn't need money, does he? You don't give him pocket money every week in the grave. You bury them. And you need money to bury the person now. It's cost nearly £5,000.
What?
Yeah, a grave. To buy a grave, £5,000.
Crazy mental illness.
Yeah, good mental illness, dementia, I mentioned. When you get older, you lose something really important. This is why people retire. Why people retire at the age of 60 or 65? Yeah, frontal lobe lose its functions. It's called executive function loss. You lose your executive functions. You go to work, what to do next? No idea. You lose the day plan. Now when you wake up in the morning, you know you need to wash and dress and brush your teeth and have breakfast, get dressed, collect your bag and things, put the lunchbox, whatever. Go to school, go to this class, do science first, English second, whatever thing. So you have a sequence of functions. You lose that function, executive, become a loss for the employer. They go there and sit. Have you done this? Oh, yeah, thanks for reminding me. And then you go and do this and come back. What about this? Oh yes. Then it's a waste. Retire. If he refuses, they will make him retire. Now, that could be very badly affected. I was asked to see a patient on medical ward. They said she's depressed, she's not eating and drinking. I went and saw her. She wasn't depressed, but she lost her executive functions. And the nurse come to her, would you like mashed potato, boiled potato, or fried potato? She gets shocked. Would you like coffee or tea or chocolate? No answer. I came, I said, put the coffee, put the tea, put the chocolate, and she picked the tea. She liked tea, but she couldn't make a decision. The decision-making gone. She couldn't tell whether she wants mashed potato, fried potato, or boiled potato. Would you like chicken or beef or lamb? No executive at all, gone. But when she went home, I said to the occupational therapist, test her at home. She took her home in the morning. She managed to wash and dress and make her breakfast, clean the house, put the rubbish outside, have a cup of tea, sit and watch the television. She didn't have to make decisions. She was automatically doing the things from A to Z. They came to me, they said, she's called full, but the executive function is gone. So these people will need to retire. When they retire, they might need a pension. Their pension is not enough. They give them pension credit. So you need money. So you need money for a lot of things. If there's a flood, people lost their houses. If there's earthquake, if they are, as he said, the environment need to be protected. And then the government will need to establish services, education, health. They need to protect you, have defense. They need to open the roads. They need to have water coming to your house. You need electricity. You need phone line. You need all sorts of money to spend on the. How governments get the money in Britain, Europe? Yeah, tax. Tax. The problem with tax, and pay as you earn. They call it payee. Pay as you earn. But sometimes, as I showed you before, you could have 100 billion pounds, but last year you didn't work at all. You didn't earn any money. You pay nothing to the taxman. And probably the next year. You end having so many people, so much money, they're so rich, but they pay nothing to the taxman. And where will we get the money from? Where will the government get the money from? Yes, you guessed it, they print money. Because money used to be gold and silver, they cannot print gold and silver. So they managed to phase out the gold and silver, put you in your mind that the pound is money, the dollar is money, euro is money. So you became convinced the paper money is money. and they print a lot of it. When they print a lot of it, were you in my class when I showed you the gram of gold in the beginning of the year? Anybody seen it? Yeah? How much I told you it was worth?
It looked like 20, and now it's 40.
I bought it for 40 pounds, yes? And when I showed it to you, how much I said it was worth?
80.
80.
Yes.
Yeah, you are near. You're near right. It's actually, when I showed it to you, it was 100 pounds. When I showed it to you, I bought it for 40. Now, anybody can guess how much it is now? 122 pounds. It's increased by 22 pounds for nothing. It has been in my pocket, stayed in my pocket. I didn't trade it with anything, but the price increased. Is that correct or wrong?
Correct. Because the pound went down.
Yeah, the pound went down. The pound went down by 22% compared to the gold. Why the pound goes down and the dollar goes down and the euro goes down?
Because they print too much.
Yeah, they print too much money. In Islam, there's no printing. The money will stay as it is. The value of the money will remain. In Islam, in the Quran, Allah didn't take the paper money as money. Allah has said, الَّذِينَ يَكْنِزُونَ الذَّهَبَ وَالْفِضَّةَ. Gold and silver are considered the money in the Quran. In Islam, you take zakah from the money, 2.5% from the wealth, not tax. So if you have somebody have 100 billion pounds and he didn't work at all, he didn't earn any new money, he still have to pay 2.5 billion tax every year. Next year he will pay another 2.5 billion until he goes below the nisab. Nisab in Islam used to be, last year it was 4,500 pounds because it's 85 grams of gold. If you have 85 grams of gold last year and you have 90 grams of gold this year, you pay tax on the 85 grams you had last year. If you had 85 grams last year and you have 80 this year, you don't pay tax, zakah. So zakah you pay on your wealth, which you keep from year to year to year. So when you have the zakah, it means the one who put the system is genius. And who put the system of zakah? Who said zakah must be taken?
Allah.
Allah. Yeah, Allah Azza wa Jal obliged people to pay zakah. Beginning of Islam, now.
What if you can't? What if you you don't have that much money?
You don't pay zakah. If you had last year the 85 grams of gold was 4,500. This year the 85 grams of gold is 10,500. 10,000, because the price of money went down. So you need to have this year, you need to have last year 10,500 pounds to pay zakah this year. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is the one who put the zakah system, but not only He said you pay 2.5% of your money. What about if you have sheep and cows and goats, and what do you pay zakah for? How do you pay zakah? For every 40 sheep, you give 1 sheep. Every 100 sheep, you give 2.5 sheep. Can you give half sheep? You give a lamb, smaller, less kilograms. So the sheep is 50 kilograms. You give a lamb, or it's 25 kilograms. Or you give few chickens or something. But why you have to give sheep, not money? Because the trade, man, that's correct in a way. I'll mention it, why it's correct. Because if you, instead of, let's say the sheep is 200 pounds, you give the paper, from the 100 sheep, from 40 sheep, you give 1 sheep, which is worth 200 pounds. Instead of giving the sheep, you give 200 pounds to the person. So the person still won't need to buy meat, and he goes back to the business person, to the farmer, to buy the sheep. He puts up the price of the sheep, and no, the sheep is 400 pounds. He will take from you 400 pounds, which he will take the Zakat money back plus extra. So Allah Azza wa Jal obliged us, if we have sheep, goats, camels, cows, stop the traders corner the market. How they corner the market? They make you need to buy from them, and they put up the price. But if they give you a sheep, you don't need to go and buy a sheep because you have one, you slaughter it and eat. The same with rice and grain, and if they sell you the bag of rice for 10 pounds, how much is the cow on the 10 pounds? 25 pence, yeah? The pound, 2.5, the 10 pounds, 25 pence. You go back, he gave you money instead of rice. You go back to buy the bag of rice, he put the price to 10 pounds 50p. So what happened? Indirectly, he take back the 25 pence and he take another 25 pence. So you're better off or worse off? You're 25 pence worse off. He gave you 25 pence for Zakat, but he took back from you 50 pence. So Allah Azza wa Jal said, no. You don't give money. He gave, if you have sheep, you give a sheep. If you have goats, you give goats. If you have cows, you give cow. If you have camels, you give camels. If you have rice, you give rice. If you have grain, you give grain. If you have cotton, you give cotton. If you have raisins, you give raisins. You don't give. The only fruit which you can't, you don't have to give as a fruit, which is what? The soft fruit. Because if you give a tomato, 3 days, 4 days later, it will become rotten tomato, or rotten cucumber, or rotten lettuce. The soft fruit, you give money instead. Because if you don't buy his tomato, and you still have to keep the tomato for tomorrow or the day after, he might sell you the tomato for half the price. If he doesn't sell it to you, it will be rot, and he will throw it away. The rice doesn't get rot, or that. So Islam, we're considering how the government collect money. The West use tax, as me. Hello? Throw a glass of water on your face. Have you been doing Qiyamul Layl? Have you been praying during the night, all the night? You didn't have coffee in the morning, did you? You're fasting. So the way Islam collect the zakah is genius. Why? Because it's from Allah. So when it is Ramadan, end of Ramadan, you have to give Zakatul Fitr, which is called Fitrana, yeah? For every person alive in your family, you have to give enough food to feed one person. So if you are a family of 5, to feed one person for the day of Eid, because the Prophet ﷺ said, give them food on the day of Eid, stop them having the need to beg for money. At least the day of Eid don't need to beg, the poor and the needy and the people in need for money. So, but in Islam, you are not allowed to give them money. Unless it's so difficult to, how you're going to send fish and chips to Pakistan from here. It's difficult. If you want to ship the food to another country, you better send money. But if it's in this country, you have to give food of the day to the poor people. Why? For the same reason. If you give them money, they go to buy the food, they put the price of the food up, they get the zakat back. Yeah? That's the way the market works. If there's a lot of demand, the price goes up. If there's no demand, the price goes down. So in Zakatul Fitr, you must give the food of the common food of the country for enough to feed one person for one day. If it is rice, you give 275 grams of rice. Quarter of a kilogram. Will it be enough to feed one person for a day? Do you cook? Anybody cooked rice before? None of you. How much you put rice in for one person?
Like 1 cup.
1 cup for one person. Me and my wife, we cook half a cup.
Why?
Go inflate. The rice absorb water and expand. Yeah, probably because we eat less than you. How many cups do you eat? 2 cups. But for a family of 5, you usually use 2 or 3 cups of rice. But for one person, 1 cup will be enough to feed him the day. Or 1 cup of grain, a sa', or 1 cup of dates. A cup of dates will be like 20 dates. How many dates you eat when you break the fast? No, you have to eat 1 or 3 or 5 or 7, odd number. But we usually eat 3 dates, or 1 date will be enough. But the point is that you are not allowed to give money instead of food. Because if you give them money and they go to buy the food, they put price of the food up, they take back the zakat. So this is the way Allah Azza wa Jalla dealt with it. The same in Eid al-Adha. You are not allowed to give money. You give Qurbani. No, they ring 5 minutes early. Qurbani, you break it into 3 parts. You give 1/3 to the poor, and 1/3 to
the elderly.
the poor and injured, the same, in need. Whose children? Asara. 1/3 for the poor, orphan, needy, whatever. 1/3 for you and your family, and 1/3 for your friends. But you give meat. You don't go and give money, because the same thing. They go to buy the food, they find that the price went up because there's no more demand in Eid. So this is the way. Precious stone, you're not allowed to give precious stone as zakah. Why is that?
It's
Diamond, rubies, sapphire, not allowed.
Is it because it's not valued as money, or is it because it's more than your?
It might worth more than the money,
Yeah. Is it more?
but
Is it more?
different reason.
Is it because
Have you got a ring of diamond? When you want to get married, will you ask your prospective wife to buy you a ring, diamond ring? Come on. Probably girls will only accept diamond ring, but boys don't. Usually a silver ring, yeah? Because for men, gold and diamond, sapphire, ruby have no value. When you go to sell the diamond, the shopman will not buy it. They will. I went when we were in Morocco. I think we went to sell. My wife wanted to sell a brooch, and the brooch have very, very nice stones in it. He said that stone have no value. He said, and then we accepted. We sold it, and in front of us, he just broke all of it and threw it in the bin because it has no value to him. Gold might or might not have value. They say, we'll sell it for you, put it in our shop, we'll put it in a window. If anybody buy it, we'll give you the money. But in Islam, the precious stone, no zakah on it, and you will pay it as zakah. You might sell it and get the money and give zakah from the money. So, the item on zakah is mentioned in zakah by itself, mentioned when you talk about Ramadan, Zakatul Fitr, mentioned in Hajj when you do the Qurbani, and mentioned when you have elderly care, when you have child care, when you have service. But it is, in Islam, it has to be either gold and silver, if you have gold and silver, or has to be livestock, if you have camels and cows and sheep, or it has to be rice and grain and raisin, and if you are a farmer, and it has to be food of the day if it's Zakatul Fitr, and it has to be a measure of a certain amount to feed one person one day. Right?